So today I'm joined by Lisa May Young, who is a writer, presenter, podcaster and a columnist for the Fife Free Press. Good morning, Lisa.
Hello, Mark. How are you?
Not so bad, not so bad. And today I'm going to be speaking to Lisa about her writing and presenting skills and how she got into writing and what kind of things she would say to people who wished to get into the creative writing side. So Lisa, firstly, could you tell me, how did you yourself get into writing?
I always wrote as a child, and my stories were always very fantastical, so they always got read out in front of the classroom by the teacher because they were very fantastical. I'd imagine dragons outside in the playground and things like that. And I didn't write for a few years, and then about 6 years ago I had a dream over a week, and it was about twins that were separated and how they found each other, and it got to the stage where it was the 6th or 7th day, and I thought there's maybe something to this. And then I got curious and wondered what the story was. And out of that, a year later, came the Kinship Chronicles. So it was all from a dream, literally.
Excellent. Well, some of the best things do come out of dreams. And who would you say was an inspiration to you in writing?
Being honest, Nora Roberts. She's a prolific, hard-working writer. She produces 2 or 3 books a year. I love her ethic. It reminds me of Stephen King as well, because she sits at her desk from 9 o'clock in the morning to 5 at night, and her saying is you can't edit a blank page.
Yeah.
And I really like her, and she produces 2 bestsellers a year. I think she's amazing. It's almost like when I read one of her books, it's almost like having a cup of tea and opening up a bar of chocolate. It's just so relaxing.
That sounds good. And obviously, so hard work is really a big part of creative writing, yeah?
Yeah. Like Nora said, you can't edit a blank page. Stephen King, he put his writing out to anyone and everyone. And I think that's a good piece of advice to anyone out there. There's a lot of books out there on how to write, and there's a lot of courses on how to write. The best teacher is yourself, is trusting that putting something down on the page and just going for it.
Excellent. Now, you also do some podcasting. You're quite a prolific podcaster and also a bit of presenting as well. And you've had your own radio show. What kind of things is it you cover in your podcasts and your shows?
I've got 2 main podcasts. One is called Holding the Space, and that's an interview podcast. And that's basically me being nosy. I'm quite intrigued to know what's in someone's head and their brain and how they would think. And that comes from being a trainee counsellor. I'm just absolutely fascinated by people and how they think, particularly creatives. The other side of it is I do Scottish Ancestral Records, and that's in partnership with the Scottish Genealogy Society. And that's for ancestral research, so doing your family history, which I adore doing. So they both kind of keep me in trouble. So
the Ancestry, that's actually quite interesting. I would love to know things about ancestors from years ago. Say you'd never met somebody before, how much research would you have to sort of put in hours to get back to, say, a couple of 100 years ago?
Half an hour.
Really?
No, it depends on where you're looking. If you're going to Scotland's People Centre in Edinburgh, you can book out a day for £15. You can, and very easily get back. All you do is you start yourself. What do you know? What do your mum and dad know? What does your granny know? But when it comes to Ancestry, some of the stories of Ancestry are not actually the truth. Okay. So, your great-granddad wasn't an earl and owned a estate, but actually owned a cottage on the estate, So, but that's part of the charm of Ancestry. I mean, the best bit for me was my granddad, who's since passed away. He would tell me all these stories of our family history, and I would go away and find the certificates and come back and show them. Yeah. So it was a really a bit of a labour of love between us. Yeah. But yeah, I would encourage anyone to take up Ancestry, and it's just to warn you, it's the sort of thing, once you start you can't stop. It's very addictive. Very addictive. Yeah, it does sound really interesting. You're also a columnist for the Fife Free Press. How long have you been doing that? I've been doing that since actually just before lockdown. I got approached by a couple of podcasts and articles, and then Alan asked if I wanted to do something more regularly. So I suppose my column would be on podcasting / digital media or the digital culture. So I start by telling a story, essentially. Yeah. For example, one week I talked about how I really like history podcasts and suggested a lot of different podcasts. But for me, the best thing is I get to mention people locally that are doing podcasts. Right. Yeah. So I'm able to give them a platform, and I'm able to encourage people to use their voices. because everyone should use their voice.
Brilliant. Fantastic. So, goals and ambitions, what would be your sort of burning ambition?
I've got another couple of podcasts in mind, but they're next year. But this year's going to be dedicated to writing.
Yeah.
I'm involved in a very exciting project at the moment, which I can't really share much about. But it's very exciting, and I'm knee deep in the middle of the story, which I'm kind of reluctant to leave, to be honest. So that's going to lead to other things. I'm also going to have a book coming out next year called The Rooms in My Head, and that is going to be if you think Scottish Joan Didion, I'm putting together my blogs and sharing them.
Excellent.
So that's quite exciting. I've got an editor on board for that. So, but yeah, I'm just generally keeping myself out of trouble.
Definitely sounds like that, and that sounds like a really interesting project as well, this mystery one. I shall definitely be looking out for that. Now, obviously during lockdown, people have had all sorts of creative things. There's been an absolute explosion of creativity, whether it be kind of silly videos on social media or people finding skills or rediscovering skills they didn't realise they had. And now we have this whole kind of population of people who are now, discovered this creativity and maybe don't know how to get into it or how to channel it. What inspirational advice or tips would you give to anybody out there who is thinking of taking it that little bit further and putting themselves out there with writing or presenting or podcasting?
I would say just do it. Just do it. You can sometimes kind of overthink. Like, for example, when I started going down the podcasting route, I researched mics for 2 months. End up using my phone. So, you could spend time getting yourself and overthinking what you need to do, and actually all I really needed to do was speak at the mic. That's all I needed to do. Same with writing. If you want your local newspaper, who are often looking for content to publish a story, approach them, ask them. You've got nothing to lose by asking someone anything. So, and worst, it goes to someone else, or it's a piece of writing you learned from. Yeah. One thing I would suggest to writers and creatives is not to compare themselves to other people, because I think that's quite a dangerous game, and that is the best piece of advice I'd offer to anyone. You can sometimes see on Twitter, particularly during the months where people are writing novels, I wrote 2,000 words today. Now, if you're another writer who's only managed to write 10, that could feel quite disheartening. Yeah. But those 10 words could be historical. Yeah. So don't compare yourself to other people. Yeah. Ever. Your creative voice is unique, and there's nobody else like you on the planet. So celebrate that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that is very inspirational, and it's been a pleasure speaking to you today. Lisa May Young, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.